Hey guys, welcome to Google Cloud Dataflow Learning. My name is Kamal Sharma. I'm a certified Google Cloud architect. This video is intended for data professionals, especially for who wants to design and build big data pipelines. If you have any question, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and send me a message. Let's start. What is Google Cloud Dataflow? Google Dataflow allows us to build unified batch and streaming data processing pipelines, monitor their execution, and transform and analyze data. It works with an open source programming framework Apache Beam. So here we are talking about two different terminologies, unified processing pipelines and second is Apache Beam. Let's first talk about the importance of unified pipeline structure. Unified pipeline structure means we can run a pipeline in both streaming and batch mode with the same code base. Let's take a use case. You have written a complex data processing pipeline to perform a real-time sales data processing. Once you have completed the pipeline development, your manager informed you that we also need to process last 10 years historical data. Now the question comes that will you write another pipeline for batch processing, and that is definitely going to take some time because of its complexity. Don't be sad. Dataflow allows us to perform both batch and streaming work with the same code base. We just need to change our input data sources. So here you can see both streaming and batch pipelines both have the same code. The only difference is input source. Streaming pipeline has input source PubSub while the other one has Google Cloud Storage as an input. In the upcoming slides, we will talk about how Dataflow internally works when we run the same code on batch and streaming mode. Now the next point is Apache Beam. What is Apache Beam? Apache Beam is an advanced unified programming model to define data pipelines. It was developed by Google. Now it is open source and supported by Apache Foundation. It allows us to develop our batch and streaming data processing jobs with the same code base and to plug it on our different data storage and messaging systems through Google Cloud connectors. The pipeline is then executed by one of the Beam supported parallel processing backend. Google Dataflow platform is one of the processing backend. Other similar backends are Apache Apex, Apache Flink, and Spark. Currently, Apache Beam supports Java, Python, and Go language, so you can write your pipeline in any of these languages and then execute in any of the above backends. So the question comes, why Dataflow? When we have so many backends, is there anything special with the Dataflow? So there are many reasons to choose the Dataflow pipeline. A few points we will talk here. The first point is fully managed service. Google Dataflow is a fully managed service that lowers operational cost without the hassle of deploying, maintaining, and scaling infrastructure. It can allocate resources on demand to minimize latency while maintaining high utilization efficiency. On the other hand, other providers like Spark, Flink typically run on top of a Hadoop installation and have a lot of operational overhead. The third point is cloud customers benefit. All the Google Cloud customers can use the power of Dataflow by connecting with Google's data sources like Cloud PubSub, Cloud Storage, Cloud SQL, BigQuery, Data Store, and File Store, etc. And on top of that, users can use Google's job scheduling system Cloud Composer, and that is also a managed service. Fourth is open source programming model. Google Dataflow works on an open source programming model and is able to integrate with Hadoop and other providers like AWS and Salesforce. These were some of the reasons to pick Dataflow among other services. We will talk about many other features in the next few minutes. Now there is a very interesting story behind Dataflow evolution, and that is really important to understand the concept of data processing. So before going in Dataflow details, let's explore how the Dataflow system was evolved and what underneath technology it is using. Google Dataflow was evolved from MapReduce, FlumeJava, and Millwheel products. Let's talk one by one. The first is MapReduce. MapReduce is a programming model and implementation for batch processing. It was designed for embracingly parallel programming problems. Embracingly parallel programming problems means any problem which can be easily divided without any effort in parallel tasks. MapReduce provides a functional API for data processing. User defines map and reduce functions where each map and reduce invocations run independently from each other on the worker nodes. Here, the map processes the large input data and creates several small chunks of data. The reduce processes the data that comes from the map and performs data shuffling, sorting, and aggregation. After processing data, it produces a new set of output. The MapReduce framework manages all the details of data processing such as issuing tasks, verifying task completion, and copying data around the clusters between the nodes. In 2004, when Google released papers and proved the power of MapReduce to the world, a lot of big companies were inspired with this technique, and sooner MapReduce became the standard of batch processing. This technique was really effective. Prior, the major batch tasks were taking days to finish. Now we're able to complete in couple of hours and couple of minutes. But there was still a problem. Real complex problems require a pipeline of MapReduce programs, and managing such a series of pipeline was a really tedious task. Google presented a Java library named FlumeJava that makes it easy to develop, test, and run efficient data processing pipelines. FlumeJava is based on the abstraction of parallel collections of immutable data. So when you express your program as a sequence of transformations and operations on parallel collections and then run the FlumeJava program, the system constructs an execution data flow graph expressing your program as a pipeline and optimizes that graph. This graph is internally executed by an underlying data processing framework like MapReduce. FlumeJava's fusion of higher level programming abstraction and optimization framework provides a freedom to the developers from thinking about tedious details of MapReduce. A FlumeJava program has four major components: pipeline, peak collections, transform, and input-output source and sinks. Pipeline. A pipeline encapsulates your entire data processing task. It includes reading input data, transforming data, and writing output data. Peak collections. Peak collections represents data sets in the pipeline. The data represents potentially tedious details of an infinitely sized set of unbounded data. Transforms. A transform represents a data processing operation. Input, output, source, and sinks. These are the libraries for reading and writing to the external storage systems. MapReduce and FlumeJava were able to process different type of batch patterns. Some of the batch patterns we will talk here: creating unstructured to structured data, repetitive execution, time-based window, and sessions. First is creating unstructured to structured data. It means performing filtering and aggregation on unstructured data and make it structured. For example, reading data from a file system and preparing a structured data using filtering and aggregation and then writing to an analytical database. Repetitive executions. We can run a batch job to execute in repetitive manner of the above structure. The next is time-based window. It can be like putting time-based aggregations, for example, monthly, daily, and hourly data calculations. The last is sessions. We can write batch jobs based on user sessions. For example, playing an online game. So we can create a session-based batch job to process data for the entire session. The MapReduce and FlumeJava solved the major batch processing problems, but two major points that were still lacking. First is low latency, and the second is ability to have continuous data sources. Now the problem here is MapReduce is a batch job technique and analysis was only possible on fixed size datasets. But in today's world, we are continuously getting new data and want to get real-time insights so we can analyze data behavior and can take proactively business decisions. For example, a user is searching garments on an e-commerce website. So if you can analyze and predict user behavior according to his past and current searching, you can show him better products of his interest. So a real-time processing system was need of the time. Google launched another product named Millville. Millville is Google's streaming data processing framework for handling low latency and unbounded data sets in real time. It was designed from the beginning to be fault tolerant, scalable, and offer strong correctness guarantee. Processing the unbounded or streaming data without any limit was not possible, like we can't collect data altogether and process later. The typical solution for such problems is windowing strategy. Using this, we divided unbounded data into finite pieces across the time boundaries. For example, processing 10 minutes data per window. Windowing strategy leads us to a new problem. Distributed system considers time in two different categories: event time and processing time. Event time is the time at which an event occurred within the system, and processing time is the time at which an event is observed during the data processing. In ideal cases, processing and event time both would be the same. But in the real world, there can be system lag, networking delays, and due to heavy throughput, the system can also take time to process the data. This lag in time is called event time skew. When we do real-time data processing, This event time skew can affect computations very badly. Because if we ignore event time skew, data will be processed in the wrong processing time window and data computation will become wrong. In this example, we are collecting hourly data. System processed a data packet between 12 to 13 pm while its event time was between 11 to 12 pm. So data went in wrong window, and this is quite very common. Millwheel allows us to deal with late data using triggers. So using triggers, we can adjust the output of previous window as new data arrives. In other words, we are able to constantly make our results more correct as our data becomes more complete, and achieving complete correctness once we receive all the data. So using triggers, we will able to push delayed data packets in actual event time window. So Cloud Dataflow is the combination of MapReduce, Flume Java and Millwheel as a fully managed cloud service for batch and streaming data processing. Now we will see how Dataflow internally works when we run same pipeline as a batch and streaming mode. If we run the Dataflow pipeline as a batch process, it will be transformed into the MapReduce program and will be executed on the MapReduce framework. While if you run the streaming pipeline, it will be executed on the Millwheel streaming processing engine. Dataflow handles these switching internally and we don't need to put any additional efforts. Now the next point, we will talk about how a Dataflow pipeline looks like. Here is the sample word count pipeline program. You can see use of all the components like transform, pipeline and peak collections. In the right side, there is a final optimized graph generated by the Dataflow service. This was the basic introduction of the Dataflow. Now let's explore some of the Dataflow features. First is automated resource management and dynamic work rebalancing. Dataflow automates provisioning and management of processing resources to minimize latency and maximize utilization so that you don't need to spin up the instances. Next is horizontal auto scaling. Worker nodes are horizontally auto scaled according to the throughput. So today, if you are processing a single file and expecting hundreds of files in future, such situations can easily be handled through the horizontal auto scaling. Next is flexible resource scheduling pricing for batch processing. This feature is really important if you are looking for the cost-effective solution and can be flexible in job scheduling time. This feature can help you to lower prices for batch processing. These flexible jobs are placed into a queue with a guarantee that they will be retrieved for execution within a 6-hour window. Next is Dataflow templates. Dataflow templates allows you to easily share your pipelines with team members and across your organization. Google provides some default templates to implement simple but useful data processing tasks. Inline monitoring. Dataflow lets you directly access job metrics, monitoring chart and set alerts for stale data and high system latency. The next few features are for security implementations. First is customer managed encryption keys. Pipelines can be protected with a customer managed encryption keys. Dataflow VPC service controls. Dataflow pipeline can be integrated with VPC that provides additional security from the risk of data exfiltration. Next is private IPs. Dataflow allows us to use private IPs that provide security from exposing systems to the external world. Last is Dataflow SQL. We can create streaming Dataflow pipelines right from the BigQuery web UI. For example, streaming data from PubSub and write results into the BigQuery, then building real-time dashboards. This simple solution can be easily implemented through the Dataflow SQLs. IAM roles. Google customers can implement security using IAM roles. To limit access for users within a project or organization, you can use Dataflow IAM roles. You can restrict access to Dataflow related resources instead of granting users viewer, editor or owner access to the entire Google Cloud project. These are some of the default Dataflow roles: Dataflow admin, Dataflow developer, Dataflow viewer and Dataflow worker. We have learned about Dataflow. Let's see how Dataflow is used in real life use case. Let's go to Google's official documentation. Here you can see all the inputs are generated from mobile devices, web and IoT devices and ingested in real-time streaming service PubSub. Then data is processed in real time using Apache Beam and Dataflow, and further processed data is stored in BigQuery. At the same time, we are using this data for real-time dashboards. This was the practical use case of the Dataflow pipeline. In the next videos, we will see how to write, run and deploy Dataflow pipelines, Dataflow best practices and security implementations. Thanks for watching.